Breaking news, don't trust mainstream. So here we've got a couple of people in science saying that they've now worked out that the Earth's core is solid metal. However, back when I was at school, they actually said the same thing. Earth's core is solid metal or iron, same thing. And however, other scientists have said, no, it's not all that solid. And then you've got other scientists that say Earth's core is liquid. So when you realise that these mainstream have no idea what they're talking about, watch my videos, because I actually go into the reason why I believe Earth's core was ice, which explains so much more than what mainstream's done. Because Earth's size was totally different. We've got water actually coming up from below the Earth, that's a fact. So everything seems to match my research as opposed to their guesses. So feel free to follow and you'll learn something. What language did the Anunnaki alien race actually speak? Now, this is a cuneiform tablet, Sumerian cuneiform, and the chances are this is the language. Even though we have other languages such as Akkadian, Assyrian, Babylonian, etc., this one, which is the actual oldest as well, is probably the language that the Anunnaki spoke. Now, I'll just play a little bit of a video here for you. So this is a lecture from the Penn Museum.
It's interesting. It's the most interesting language. I'm going to get killed when my colleagues see this on YouTube. It's the most interesting language because it's an isolate. It has no family relatives, living or dead, right? And that it's very interesting in terms of world typology.
So in other words, this language is a one-off language, unlike pretty much most other languages. I think there's a Basque language is also on its own, but this is probably their language.
Taker. Mr. President, EBE means extraterrestrial biological entity. It was a code designated to this creature by the U.S. Army back in those days. This creature was not human, and we had to decide on a term for it. So, scientists designated the creature as EBE-1. We also referred to it as Noah. There was different terminology used by various aspects of the U.S. military and intelligence community back then. President, do we or did we have others? The number 1 would seem to indicate we had others. The caretaker, yes, we had others. Back then, the term was EBE and no number designation. We'll explain how the others came into our knowledge. President, okay, sorry, I was just wondering and I guess, well, I'm sure the briefing will cover this. Please continue. The caretaker, all the debris and EBs recovered from the first crash site were taken to Roswell Army Airfield, Roswell, New Mexico. EBE was treated for some minor injuries and then taken to Los Alamos National Laboratories, which was the safest and most secure location in the world. Special accommodations were made for EBE. The debris was eventually transferred to Dayton, Ohio, home of the Air Force Foreign Technology Division. The second crash site wasn't discovered until 1949 by some ranchers. There were no live aliens at this site. All this debris went to Sandia Army Base in Albuquerque, New Mexico. President. Okay, a question. Regarding the first site, how many aliens were in the spaceship? The caretaker. 5 dead aliens and 1 alive. The bodies of the dead aliens were transported to Wright Field in Ohio and kept in a form of deep freeze. They were later transported to Los Alamos, where special containers were made to keep the bodies from decaying. There were 4 dead aliens in the second crash site. Those bodies were in an advanced state of decaying. They had been in the desert for the past two years. Animals and time got to those bodies. The remains were transported to Sandia Base and eventually onto Los Alamos. We determined both crashed spaceships were of similar design, and the bodies of the aliens were all identical. They looked exactly the same. They had the same height, weight, and physical features. Here are the photographs of the aliens. Pause. President, can we classify them? I mean, can we, connect them with anything earthly? The caretaker. No, Mr. President. They don't have any similar characteristics of a human, with exception of their eyes, ears, and a mouth. Their internal body organs are different. Their skin is different. Their eyes, ears, and even breathing is different. Their blood wasn't red, and their brain was entirely different from human. We could not classify any part of the aliens with humans. They had blood and skin, although considerably different than human skin. Their eyes had 2 different eyelids, probably because their home planet was very bright. President: Maybe I'm getting ahead, but do we know where they came from? Mars, our system, or where? The caretaker: Yes, Mr. President, we do know where they come from. I can go into this now, or I can wait until it comes up in the briefing. President: No, please continue. I can wait. The caretaker: Thank you, Mr. President. Ebe stayed alive until 1952 when it died. We learned a great deal from Ebe. Although Ebe did not have voice organs like humans, it was able to communicate with an operation performed by military doctors. Ebe was extremely intelligent. It learned English quickly, mainly by listening to the military personnel who were responsible for Ebe's safety and care. Ebe was housed in a special area at Los Alamos and Sandia Base. Although many different military doctors, scientists, and a select number of civilians studied Ebe, it never became upset or angry. Ebe helped us learn from all the items found in the 2 crash sites. Ebe showed us how some of the items worked, such as a communications device. It also showed us how various other devices worked. President: Excuse me, but you are referring to this creature as an IT. Did it have a gender? The caretaker: I'm sorry, Mr. President, but yes, it was male. Within Ebe's race, they had males and females. President: Okay, thank you. Please continue. The caretaker: Thank you, Mr. President. Ebe died of what military doctors considered natural causes. I don't think we could really state exactly why Ebe died. Although we had 5 years to study Ebe, we didn't have any standards to compare Ebe's body with standard medical observations. It was difficult to lose Ebe since it was the most interesting thing we as humans could receive and study. A visitor from another planet. Another world. Ebe did explain where he lives in the universe. We call this star system Zeta Reticuli, which is about 40 light years, 3842 from Earth. Ebe's planet was within this star system. President: Okay, where is this in comparison to something we all know? The caretaker: Well, Mr. President, our closet star is 4 light years away. I can show you the constellation it is in. Alpha Centauri, a yellow star, is the brightest star in the constellation Centaurus, 4.3 light years away. President: No, I wouldn't know much about astronomy. I just thought I could understand the distance. How long did it take this spaceship to get here? The caretaker: Well, Mr. President, I can tell you now, or we can discuss that in another briefing. As Mr. Casey said, this is a complicated subject because there are many levels of compartmentalization. This briefing is just the basic information about a visit to our planet by one particular alien race. President: Well, What? Am I to understand this isn't a full briefing? W.M. Casey: Mr. President, we have different levels of stuff. If we mix it up, I don't think it will make sense, nor will we have time this morning. I understand you have a busy schedule today. President: As the President of the United States, I should know everything, right? Or shouldn't I? If I am to assume this was a briefing of substance, then I should hear all of it. I think this is more important than some other things on my daily calendar, but maybe I'm jumping the gun. If there are some things I shouldn't know, please tell me. W.M. Casey: No, Mr. President. I didn't mean you shouldn't know this stuff. I simply meant we should proceed in an orderly fashion as to the briefing. But it is up to you. We will not hold anything back. President: Advisor number 1, what do you think? Do you know about all this? Advisor number 1: Mr. President, yes, I was briefed many times on this subject matter. As Director Casey stated, this is a very, very complicated subject. I think it took me about 1 year to be fully briefed into all aspects of this matter. There are different areas: the initial crash, an investigative period, some attempt at contact, a disinformation operation to protect this matter, and several other levels. President: Oh, wow. I didn't realize how complicated this was. I'm new at all of this. I have a great responsibility to the citizens of this nation to make decisions based on accurate information presented by my advisors. You, all of you, I won't interfere in your presentation of this information. So, I guess we'll proceed in the order you have chosen. I'm sorry for interrupting in this presentation, but as a person who is interested beyond belief in this, I'll just shut up and wait to ask questions.
If you are enjoying this, why not watch the full hour and 20-minute version? In fact, there's over 150 other long documentaries you can watch. They are on my Patreon page. It's only a couple of pounds, and more content is added every week. Find out why Stonehenge is there. Find out who Yahweh really was. Learn that the crystal skulls are not fake. See Easter Island for what it really is. Understand the mark of the beast, and so much more, all with evidence. Head over to patreon.com, Our True History. There's also free documentaries there. Click on Collections, then Free. Watch an hour-long documentary on the Great Flood. Trust me, you won't find this kind of research anywhere else. Thanks for your support. Our True History.
Who can you trust as a researcher? I've been asked by a few people who I trust, because obviously I've done videos where I've shown other researchers, well-known researchers, have got things wrong, and I show it with evidence. So people said to me, well, who do I trust? So there's this gentleman here called Praveen Mohan. He's brilliant at looking at the Indian temples and basically showing that it wasn't done by people, it was done by, obviously, the Anunnaki. So, and then there's another gentleman here called Dan McLaren, and he is a religious scholar. He doesn't go so far as to say there are aliens. However, everything that he says does match the ancient texts that basically say that there were aliens. In other words, the gods were Anunnaki. Linda Moulton Howe, very honest person, amazing research in many different fields. And then you've got Michael Tellinger, who is amazing regarding stone circles and the power that comes from them. Breaking news, Garden of Eden has been found, according to this website that really hasn't done any research, because the word Eden is just a pleasurable place, which means there's more than one Eden. And I have actually done the homework. So here on my Patreon page, for a couple of pounds, you get over 150 long documentaries. This is just actual part 2 of the one that's called Garden of Eden, Adam and Eve. And here I show that the Garden of Eden, the original Garden of Eden, was where Adam and Eve was for 24 years on a spaceship. Sounds stupid. This is the actual text, by the way, not me making up this text. And watch the documentary. I prove with evidence they were there. And the garden, there was a garden on one of the orbiting spaceships of the Anunnaki. Anyway, they finally got sent down. Watch the video, all with evidence. They get sent down to King Enki's Ziggurat Palace, where there's another garden. So that's why, if you read the books properly, you realise there's 2 gardens at least.
Why so many races on Earth? You could argue, why so many types of dogs? Why is there many types of fish? Or even just say, why do we have types of elephants? African bush elephant, Loxodonta africana. Found in various habitats across sub-Saharan Africa, including savannas, forests, and deserts. African forest elephant, Loxodonta cyclotis. Also found in sub-Saharan Africa, primarily in forested regions of West and Central Africa. It is smaller and more elusive than the African bush elephant. Asian elephant, Elephas maximus. Found in fragmented habitats across various countries in South and Southeast Asia, including India, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Myanmar, and Sumatra. The simple answer would be their ancestor migrated, and over time they evolved in different countries. Could that be the same for us humans? Did the white people and Chinese all start from one ancestor? Mainstream will tell you this. This is mainstream version of why there are different races. However, as you watch on, you'll see simple logic destroys this. One key factor contributing to the diversity of human populations across the globe is human migration and settlement patterns over thousands of years. Different regions of the world have been inhabited by distinct human populations. leading to the development of unique physical characteristics, languages, cultures, and customs. Geographical isolation and environmental factors also played a role in shaping human populations over time. For example, populations living in colder climates may have developed adaptations to withstand cold temperatures, such as lighter skin to absorb more sunlight and produce vitamin D. Additionally, historical events such as colonization, imperialism, slavery, and forced migration have further contributed to the mixing and differentiation of human populations. What a pile of rubbish! That was mainstream's explanation of why there are different races. Why doesn't anyone challenge that? Has no one thought about this logically? Well, now you will have your answer. There is a huge problem here. Homo sapiens appeared 300,000 years ago. This means unless all the different races were created at the same time, such as Asian, white, Indian, etc., and then they all went to different lands, this doesn't seem right, because archaeologists have traced migration patterns. The oldest Homo sapien fossils found outside of Africa are from the Levant region of the Middle East, specifically from sites in modern-day Israel and neighbouring areas. One of the most significant findings is the skull and kafse hominins, which date back to around 120,000 to 90,000 years ago. This means Homo sapiens would have either all been created with different races in Africa 300,000 years ago, or there was one type, such as black people in Africa, and they migrated around 120,000 to 90,000 years ago, and they then changed features and eye shapes, etc., within that time frame as evolution. That doesn't work for me. Remember, mainstream said the races are part of geographical isolation and environmental factors. If this is real, then we couldn't have had all the races start in South Africa, because they would all be the same, as they wouldn't have had geographical isolation and environmental factors. The only other logical way is that there were many types of hominid early humans, and when Homo sapiens did migrate, they bred with the different types of hominids in each country. Can we prove that, for example, China didn't have any Homo sapiens before the Homo sapiens migrated? One of the oldest Homo sapiens skeletons found in China is the Liujiang fossil, also known as the Liujiang skull. This fossil consists of a partial skull.
Breaking news, dinosaurs lived alongside man. Archaeologists in Brazil find petroglyphs alongside dinosaur tracks. Now, this isn't the first of its kind. We have actual footprints with dinosaurs, human footprints with dinosaurs, as well as these petroglyphs all around the world. And we've even got carvings of dinosaurs that no one should have known what they looked like. But in this particular piece, it says that it was around 100 million years ago that these tracks. Now, Homo sapiens were only around for about 3 to 4 million years ago. So one of them's telling little porcupines, and that's because dinosaurs didn't all die out 65 million years ago. We actually have the evidence that they survived a lot longer, and the evidence is here in a documentary that I've made called Dinosaurs Lived with Humans. It's on my Patreon page, and as you know, when I do these documentaries, I don't leave any stone unturned. So if you're interested in seeing the actual evidence.
How the Anunnaki knew about our solar system. The race called gods, we know them as Anunnaki, live on a planet called Nibiru. That planet came from outside our solar system. The tablets for this information is in the British Museum. It's called the Enuma Elish, translated by L.W. King. If you want to read this yourself, type in Enuma Elish PDF on Google. Before I explain how the Anunnaki knew about how our universe was formed, we first need to read through the Enuma Elish. I will keep cutting in explaining things. I hope this won't put you off learning about our solar system.
The first tablet. When in the height heaven was not named, and the earth beneath did not yet bear a name, and the primeval Apsu, who begat them, and Chaos, Tiamut, the mother of them both. Their waters were mingled together, and no field was formed, no marsh was to be seen. When of the gods none had been called into being, and none bore a name, and no destinies were ordained.
It's believed that the Apsu was the sun, our sun in our solar system. There was water in space. This is what NASA says about water in space. Enormous amounts of water, in gaseous form, exist in the vast stellar nurseries of our galaxy. The Hubble Space Telescope peered into the Helix Nebula and found water molecules. Hydrogen and oxygen, formed by different processes, combine to make water molecules in the ejected atmosphere of this dying star. This is the translations from the Moor-Hen collection. They are pretty much the same as the Enuma Elish translations, but in an easier format to understand.
When it all started, in the above, there were no gods in the heavens, and in the below, Ki, there was no name for the firm ground. Apsu, their first leader, was all alone in the void. In the heights of the above, there were no celestial gods yet, and in the depths of the below there were no celestial gods either. Apsu ruled the void all by himself. Then his winds mixed the waters of the beginning, and Apsu cast a divine and clever spell over the waters. He slept soundly in the deep of the void. Tiamat, the mother of everything, became his wife. She, indeed, was a mother from heaven and a watery beauty.
The mother of everything isn't the creator of everything. Tiamat was a watery planet. In fact, it was an ice planet. Watch my documentary on the Norse gods, where I explain the Norse myth of a frost giant was in fact Tiamat, the planet.
Apsu's little Mumu then gave birth next to him, and he gave Tiamat a gift to bring to him as his messenger. Only she can have a gleaming metal, gold, that lasts forever.
We are not sure what Mumu was. It could have been a wormhole, portal, dust, or just a huge sun flare, or something else.
Apsu gave this beautiful gift to his wife. Then their waters mixed, and they had divine children to bring into the world. The celestials were created in both male and female forms. Lamu and Lahamu were their given names.
Then were created the gods in the midst of heaven. Lamu and Lahamu were called into being. Ages increased. Then Ansar and Kisar were created.
I have created a family tree on all the planets and their names, and which planet gave birth to which. Please remember, the Anunnaki, gods, always spoke about objects in heaven, which we know is space, as if they were alive. If these planets had personalities and mouths and eyes, this is just how they spoke about them. The first children of Tiamat was Mars and Venus. I'm not sure how a planet can create more planets, but back then, and I'm not talking about 4.5 billion years ago, that's when Nibiru planet came into our solar system. I'm talking about way back when only the sun was here first. I guess as planets were forming, parts may have broke off, creating smaller planets.
And over them, long were the days. Then there came forth Anu, their son.
Apsu and Tiamat constructed a house below. Anshar and Kishar were created in the waters of the above when they were older and taller.
You will hear people on the internet talking about the firmament and how we are under a dome, an invisible dome, and above that is water. This is because they don't research. They have took passages from the Bible and made up stories to fit, instead of actually going back to the original texts. You'll see soon how this firmament is really the asteroid belt.
Ansar and Anu, and the god Anu, Nudimud, whom his fathers, his begetters, abounding in all wisdom. He was exceeding strong. He had no rival. Thus were established and were the great gods. But Tiamat and Apsu were still in confusion. They were troubled and in disorder. Apru was not diminished in might, and Tiamat roared, she smote, and their deeds.
They were taller than their older brothers. The two were created to be a celestial couple, and they had a son named On in the faraway heavens. He was their scion.
The Anunnaki seem to have divided up the solar system into the word heavens. You'll hear shortly how one heaven is inside the asteroid belt, the 3 planets which includes Earth. There might be 7 heavens in our solar system. Kishar and Anshar were Jupiter and Saturn. They had 2 children planets and was Uranus, and Untu was Neptune.
Then Antu was brought out, who was Un's equal and would be his wife. Their house was built on the outskirts of the upper waters. This is how, below and above, 3 heavenly couples were created in the depths.
If you are enjoying this, why not watch the full version, which explains how the Anunnaki knew about our solar system? In fact, there's over 150 other long documentaries you can watch. They are on my Patreon page. It's only a couple of pounds, and more content is added every week. Find out why Stonehenge is there. Find out who Yahweh really was. Learn that the crystal skulls are not fake. See Easter Island for what it really is. Understand the mark of the beast, and so much more, all with evidence. Head over to patreon.com/ourtruehistory. There's also free documentaries there. Click on Collections, then Free. Watch an hour-long documentary on the Great Flood. Trust me, you won't find this kind of research anywhere else. Thanks for your support. Our True History.